Hi, welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and this is the handover video on the Swift Voyager 540. So starting our exterior walk round on the driver's side of the vehicle first. The first point you get to is your Truma flue. So this will allow the fumes out when operating on gas. Obviously the heater works on both gas and electric, but just make sure when it's on gas or on both sources used together that it is always clear of any obstructions so it can allow the fumes out the side of the boiler. Next we have your LPG locker, and it opens with the main Swift key which has a Swift logo on there, and then you push both catches in and release the door. In here you can fit two gas cylinders and they both work on propane. So like I was saying, the motorhome runs on propane and you can fit two 6 kilogram bottles in here, but what you need to do is before you connect the pigtail, make sure the bottle's strapped in. Because this bottle's not saying strapped in, we haven't connected it because this is our test bottle. But what you would do is you would feed that in the back of the cylinder, and this goes round the neck of the cylinder before the pigtail would go on, and then the pigtail connects over and onto the connection point on the cylinder. So to connect it, it's left to tighten, right to loosen, opposite ways with it being gas. Connect the pigtail, hand tighten, and then nip up with an adjustable wrench or spanner of some sort. And then once you've connected it and you've tied it in, you can then open the cylinder. So 1 or 2 turns is all it takes. Making sure that on the regulator, this yellow nib in the centre is not pushed out. If that's popped out, the regulator crash valve has gone off, and you need to push it in and hold it for 5 seconds to reset it, and that will allow the gas into the motorhome. With that popped out, it will not let the gas past here. And then when you are ready to travel, you turn the cylinder off at the top, so it's safer for you and other road users. Once one bottle's empty, disconnect the pigtail and connect it to your reserve, and exchange your empty bottle for another full, so you've always got a spare. At the back of the 540 you do have a garage space, so you've got tethering hooks in the floor, your carpets, you can get access from inside the vehicle. 240 socket when hooked up, 12 volt and 2 USB points just there in the corner, along with a strip light. Shelves here with hooks that come down so you can hang your coats or spare items in here, and a shelving unit at the top. On the back of the van you've got your high level reverse camera, which is here, high level brake light and bike rack bars where the back panel has been strengthened to take a bike rack. So if you were thinking of a bike rack, on this van you do have to fit a Thule bike rack because it's Thule bars. That's your smaller garage door, it's heated in there as well. This here is your cassette locker. So again, with the main habitation key, opens all the locks on the outside of the van. Push both catches in and release the door. And then to get the cassette out, you need to lift the orange handle and slide the cassette out of the vehicle. Once you've got the cassette out of the vehicle, you can either carry it, or if it's a bit heavy you can wheel it to the disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block on site. And to empty, all you need to do is remove the grey cap, pop the grey cap to the side for a moment, pour the contents out of the cassette, and as you're pouring it, press the orange button here where my thumb is, and that will allow a bit of air in and stop it glugging. It'll pour the liquid out consistently, and once everything's poured out, there's normally a tap, so put a bit of water in, cap back on, rinse, tip out again, then put your chemical in. Cap full of either the green or the blue, which is 120 ml this cap capacity, into here, back into the van, and it's good to be used. If you ever went to pick the orange handle up and you can't get the cassette out, it might be because the blade on the toilet isn't closed. I'll show you inside about the blade. The blade must be closed to allow the cassette to come out the outside of the van, because the mechanism on the bottom of the toilet is still holding the cassette in place. To fill your van full of fresh water, which is the water you're going to use for your boiler, showering, dishes, this is where you would fill it. So carry yourself a hose pipe with the hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site. This is a lockable cap. You can lock that, remove this and put the flat end of the hose into the van. Fill it until it overflows, or until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on your control panel. However, should you not be able to get a hose to the vehicle and you can get a barrel of water, an aqua roll similar to a caravan, it also comes with a submersible pump point here, which is where the two pins go in. One end of the pump goes in here and the actual pump goes into the water, sucks the water into the main freshwater tank. To drain your freshwater tank when you've taken on a source of contaminated water, or you are not using the vehicle for a while, or you're winterizing it where you want to ensure that all water is drained off to stop it from freezing in the colder months, anywhere from the back end of October to March, just underneath the skirt is your freshwater drain. So make sure the cap's off, turn the pipe and you can drain your fresh water off there. Make sure this is left open when you are winterizing it, to stop any water from sitting in the tank. Two fridge vents and an awning light. Just behind the habitation door and before the back wheel, you do have your wastewater point, which tells you it's there, and it's actually here. So it's in front of the habitation door, and this is any water that you have poured down the plug hole, so dishes water, shower water, cups of tea, anything. Normally on the site they have a designated waste disposal area where you turn your tap, you over a grid or as close to a hedge or a verge as possible to get rid of your dirty water. Allow that out before you travel, because you don't want to travel with the added weight of dirty water, because it's just going to eat up weight in your payload and use more fuel on your engine. So get rid of that, because once it's dirty there's nothing you can do with it. If you want to travel with a little bit of fresh water, you can. 20 litres is enough until you get to your site, or if you're doing more wild camping you will have to drive around with more water than 20 litres. To fill the van with fuel, it's here, and on the Fords it's a capless system, so you don't need to remove any cap. Just put the diesel nozzle straight in and fill it with your fuel. Underneath, because it's the new Euro 6 engine, it's got AdBlue. So on a Transit the AdBlue capacity is 22 litres, and it will tell you on the dash when you get 1,000 mile range left, and it'll say warning AdBlue low, 1,000 miles till no restart. And all you need to do is go into the petrol station, it's on a pump, put the pump in, it's about £1.20 a litre, and fill it, and then you've got another 5,500 mile of AdBlue range to use. And normally once you've done 4,000 mile and you've got about 1,000 mile left to go, it'll illuminate and say it's low. So you might only be doing that once a year, depending on how often you use the motorhome. Engine battery is underneath the cab seat, with it being a Transit. And to open the bonnet, you need to use the key. So the key goes in above the Ford badge, and you turn it to the driver's side of the vehicle first, which is your left, and then to your right to pop the bonnet, and then you'll be able to put the steer on there. Screen wash, which is the main one you're going to need. Engine oil if you ever need to top up. Brake fluid, dipstick for checking your levels there. Coolant, and then for giving or receiving a jump start you'd put your positive on here, whether that be a battery pack or a pair of jump leads on there, and your earth on here for giving or receiving a jump start. So earth would be on the side of the engine hoist just here. To operate your Swift 12 volt control panel, to turn the vehicle on you put your master switch here, which is your master power switch, which gives 12 volt if you are not hooked up, or if you are hooked up, you'll get the light from the post to the van, which will mean you are receiving mains to 30 volt, so all 3-pin plugs within the vehicle will work, and mains appliances. This one here is your interior lights, and they all are individually switched around the van. Press here, you can view your levels of your vehicle battery, your leisure battery, your fresh water and your wastewater capacity. Making sure that you unhook the vehicle first to get a true reflection of your batteries, and always make sure that the leisure battery is selected, which is the battery you want to use when you are using the motorhome. However, if you wanted to charge your vehicle battery over the winter, all you need to do is turn it to the vehicle and it will charge the engine battery. But when using it, it's very important that it's on the leisure battery, as this is the auxiliary battery designed to power the motorhome. Turn your pump on here, so make sure you've got enough water on board. Turn your pump on, and then as soon as you open the taps, you'll get a pressurized flow of water. And you do have your tank heaters, so if you're away in the winter and it is going to freeze, pop these on overnight and it'll stop the water from freezing in the tanks below the vehicle. To operate your Truma digital control panel, this here is your on-off button, which you would do a long press on and it'll turn itself completely off, and then press and it'll turn itself on. To enter the menu, as this is on, but you want to get into the menu, you need to press enter. And here you do have a motorhome with a thermometer flashing. This is your interior temperature of the vehicle. So click on here. Off if you are away in the summer and you didn't want any heating, or you can turn it all the way up to 30 degrees, which sets the thermostat. To save the temperature set, press enter and then move along. And this is your water setting. So if you've got water in the boiler, water in the freshwater tanks, you can put your hot water system on. So you've got Eco, which is 40 degrees of heating the 10 litres of water. Hot, which is 60 degrees of heating the 10 litres of water. Or Boost, which is a half an hour setting which turns off the heating and prioritises the water. So for this we'll just say hot, as you want the heating and hot water to run together, whereas on Boost it turns the heating off and prioritises the water. Next you've got your energy source, so you'd use gas if you were wild camping and didn't have any electric on board the vehicle. Mixture 1, which is 750 watts of electric and gas. Mixture 2, which is 1850 watts of electric and gas. You'd use that if you're in the winter, and this will boost the temperature of the vehicle quicker than using just electric for the first 20 minutes or so. EL1, which is 750 watts of electric, and EL2, which is 1850 watts of electric. Use EL2 on most sites throughout the UK. On smaller CL sites and airs, you may have to turn it down to EL1. And then at the end you've got your fan, so you can have that on Eco or High, and that is just a 12 volt fan setting. Eco uses a lot less of the leisure battery. High uses the full fan speed, so you can hear it a little bit more, so you might want to turn it down to Eco when sleeping. Time here, you can so you can put a timer on for the heating to come on and off. Time on the main display panel. And then in the settings, if you scroll all the way down to reset, if you ever get a warning triangle that won't disappear, press reset. It'll say preset, press enter again, and then it'll completely turn the panel off, and you'll have to go in and set the temperature, the water, the energy source and the fan speed again. Anything above the line, so you've got your hot water, your heating on there with a gas flame, hot water's on, you're on 2 kilowatts of electric, as you've got 2 electric symbols lit up, and your fan is on Eco, so it tells you without even going in that your heating system is on. So in the kitchen area you do have one electric 240 volt hot plate, so you've got to be hooked up for this to work, and this is this one here, so make sure that is off before you hook the vehicle up, and always ensure that everything's turned off before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you may shatter the glass and it's all went cool enough. Don't put it down if you've just had them on. 3 gas, And then underneath you do have one grill and one oven. If you need any parts for your Thetford triplex plus oven, all the details are here, including the model number of the oven and hob. Storage drawer beneath the oven. Slide out cutlery tray. Space for your sink cover chopping board. And some storage at the bottom. Along with your cup rack. Storage in here. And your plate rack there. And you've got a little bit more above in the kitchen. This is just showing that your hot water system is working. So turn that on, making sure that the pump's on. You get a pressurized flow of water. And that is really hot, that water there. So the hot water system's working correctly. So to operate your Dometic fridge, to turn the fridge on, this is a flush panel, so just put your finger on the power button here and it will turn on, and press the mode button to skip between your sources. But what I would personally do is leave it on automatic. Automatic is an automatic energy selection and it'll do it all for you. So it'll pick out mains 230 volt and always prioritize that first. However, if you weren't hooked up and you had your gas switched on, it would switch over to gas by itself. And then if you started the vehicle's battery, the vehicle's engine, from the vehicle's engine battery, you get a feed on the battery setting. It's not on the leisure battery. It's only on when the vehicle is physically running. So the idea here is that you pre-chill it beforehand at home, put your shopping in the night before. When you drive to your first site, on automatic it'll switch on to battery and it'll act as a giant cool box. Keep your shopping nice and fresh until you arrive back on site and either hook up or go on to gas if you're wild camping. Or if you're travelling from one site to another, it'll just keep your shopping nice and fresh like I've already said. However, on the automatic setting, it does wait 20 minutes before lighting on gas once the vehicle is switched off. This is a safety feature in case you forgot to isolate your gas cylinder. So it will not light for 20 minutes, it will flash and beep. What you need to do here is press mode and just change the source to gas on its own. You can select the source manually, but I would just leave it on automatic to select between battery when travelling and mains. The only time you would need to take this off is to put it on gas if you're wild camping. Temperature here, so 5 being the coldest when pre-chilling. Turn it down once you put your shopping in, because sometimes it can freeze the fridge. And with this fridge you can open the door both ways, depending on if you're getting beers from the front or you're getting stuff to prep your food out, to prep your meals from the back. When not using it, turn it off and leave the door open. There is a little clip here that you can pull out. It's a bit fiddly. Pull that out there. That rests on that little chrome stopper there and stops the fridge door from shutting, which allows air ventilation in and out of the fridge when not in use. Above the fridge you've got your solar panel, which is this black box here, which is your MPPT, which charges your leisure battery from the solar panel on the roof. But you do have to be unhooked for that to work, because mains 230 volt does take priority when hooked up, so the solar panel will go to sleep in effect. But that will charge your leisure battery, and there's a little fuse on the bottom, so if that ever doesn't light up for ever what reason, just check the fuse, because sometimes over time the fuse can blow depending on what the solar panel is pulling through. But it should be fine. At the back here you've got your TV booster, which is your Vision Plus amplifier. So there's a little wheel on there which says min and max. You can amplify the signal on your signal booster, and you have a signal finder which is showing green at the moment, so you have a signal. Should that be showing red or orange, you would then start to adjust your telescopic aerial. So there's a nut here. You would unloosen this nut, push the stem up and use the toggle on the bottom to direct the aerial, which will tilt it from side to side, front to back. And once that gets a signal and changes colour, lock the aerial into place with the nut, and then before you start travelling, undo it and pull the telescopic pole into the van. You need to ensure that the aerial's down before you travel, otherwise the wind could catch the aerial and rip it and damage the aerial through the telescopic pole. So make sure it's down before you do start travelling and locked into place with the nut. Across the back of the vehicle you've got your end washroom. So to operate the toilet, using the blue button at the back here, which is your freshwater flush, you would flush the toilet before you use it. So you put a small amount of water in, that'll do, just to lubricate the seal between the top of the cassette and the bottom of the toilet, before opening the blade, which is this grey lever on the front pedestal of the toilet. So slide it to the right, use the toilet, flush it after use. If you've bought the blue and the pink Fetford chemical together, obviously the blue goes into the cassette from the outside, the pink normally goes into a header tank, but this motorhome doesn't have a header tank. So what you can do is you can get a spray bottle, put so much pink in, and dilute it with so much water, spray the ball. All the pink is a ball cleaner and an odour neutralising spray. Spray, flush, and then once you've finished, always shut this blade. If you don't shut the blades, the cassette won't come out the outside of the van, and it'll indicate with 3 green lights underneath the little picture of the cassette here in the left hand corner that the cassette is full. You've got your hand base in there. And your hot water's coming through there nicely now. Toiletry cabinet. Light switches for the washroom. End wardrobe in the bathroom area, so you've got bungees to keep things back, along with a large hanging rail. Access to your garage from the inside of the vehicle, which is good in case you want to get something out in and it's raining outside, or you've got pets and you want to put the dogs in the back there. You've got your shower. Just watch what you clean your shower screen and surround out with. Don't use any harsh chemicals, bleaches, because you will damage the plastic finish. Just use a microfiber cloth, some Fairy Up liquid or some Dettol spray. Nothing harsh, because you will damage it, and once it's damaged it goes to a cream instead of a brilliant white, and you do have to then get it resprayed. And one tip with the shower when winterizing: unscrew the shower head from the shower hose and lie this hose down in the tray, because it will stop the loops in the pipe which hold any water when winterizing over the winter, to avoid the water from freezing in the pipe and causing any damage. So lie that in the tray with the mixer tap open, and it will stop any water in the pipelines behind the furniture and the water sitting in any pipes and the shower head itself. And do that with all taps, including the hand basin and the kitchen tap. Ensure before travelling that your strap is on the concertina washroom door, so make sure it's strapped in to keep it nice and safe and secure, so it's not going to start banging around when you're driving down the road. When winterizing the motorhome, to prevent it against frost damage, you would always start on the outside of the van. So make sure that your waste tap, which is grey, is left open and there's nothing in the tank, and make sure your blue tap, which is your freshwater tap, is open as well, and there's all the water is drained out of the 2 tanks, which are your dirty tank and your clean tank. And then you would come into the van. The boiler is located here. and you've got a boiler drain down valve, which is this yellow valve, and you'll see it's currently lying flat. If you stand that up on end, you'll hear the water drain directly out underneath the van. You would leave that stood on end when not using it, especially from anywhere from the back end of October to March, when we experience our winter and the colder temperatures kick in, to avoid the water from freezing in here. Because if the water's left in here, the water will freeze and cause damage, and your boiler's not covered under warranty. It's your responsibility as the owner to protect your vehicle against frost damage. So drain your boiler off, then you want to open your taps within the van. So you want to open your kitchen tap, you want to open your washroom tap, and you want to disconnect your shower head from the hose and lie the hose in the shower tray with the mixer tap on the shower left open. This will stop any water sitting in any pipelines and freezing, and stop any air locking. And then when you come to reuse the van, whether you're just wanting that quick weekend away in the winter, or you're just bedding it down for a few months until the weather gets better in the following season and start to use it, you come to the valve and you'll lie that down. You would shut your fresh and your waste taps on your tanks outside the van, and you would shut all your taps within the vehicle. You would then put your hose pipe into the fresh water tank and fill it with fresh water before coming into the van and turning your control panel on. Once you've turned your control panel on, you can put your pump on. Once the pump's on, you'll get a pressurised flow when you open the tap on the cold side of the tap. So you get cold water through. The cold water fills the boiler, and then when you go to the hot, you'll get a lot of coughing and spluttering because it's trying to push the air that's in here out the tap before you get a pressurised flow of water. Once you get a pressurised flow of water out of one tap, do them all, and then your system is primed for the season. So located next to your boiler are 3 gas isolation valves. So the blue one is your fridge, the green one is an oven, and the white one is also the oven. So one will be for the hob and one will be for the oven on the gas isolation valves. Any problems with the gas, turn the bottle off to be safe, but this, you can isolate an appliance by just turning the tap the other way. So once it's turning this way, it's shut. But these are mainly for when the vehicle is annually habitation serviced. A technician will test each appliance. A little top tip with the boiler as well, once you've drained it down, if you do just turn the pump on for 10 seconds once you've allowed all the water out, as the pump has a filter on which holds water, you need to drain this filter. And to do that, 10 seconds of the pump with the tap open, turn it off, and this will cough any more water that's in the pump out of the vehicle. So as Swift have a berth for belts policy, there's 2 hidden travelling seats under the lounge. So if you take all your cushions off, you've got a seat back, and you've got this big black knob here as well. So if you pull that back, you'll be able to pull the seat back rest up. You've got 2 of these hard backed. They go like that and clip onto the frame and fill the space. And then you need to use the base cushion onto there, and it velcros on, and the backrest onto here. And there you have 1 forward facing travelling seat, and you've got 2, 1 on each side of the van. And on the footwell, just pull that board in, and then you'll be able to sit on the seat and have a forward facing travelling seat. They also are Isofix, so if you're travelling with children or grandchildren, their car seats will be able to clip straight onto the Isofix points, which are bolted into the chassis, so they're all crash tested and safe for children's car seats. Underneath the travelling seat, behind the driver's side of the vehicle, you've got your leisure battery. So you've got your main leisure battery here, with your leisure battery main fuse, which is a 40 amp fuse, so you might just want to carry a spare 40 amp fuse with you in case it does blow. This should never blow, but just in case, I'd rather be prepared and have one in the vehicle than not. So that's a 40 amp jumper fuse there, and your main leisure battery. So to operate your electric drop down bed on this model, it's above the door here on the switch. Make sure the key's turned on in the on position and you'll be able to use the switch up and down. Bring the bed down. You can bring it down to the lowest point, which is where you need to remove the cushions and pop them in the floor here, and bring it down if there was just two of you and take the end cushions off. Or if you were using it as a four berth, you would stop it at any height, connect your ladder here, and you would make the bed underneath as well, and it would be like a double bunk bed on this model with a double underneath and a double above. You've also got safety nets both sides which clip onto these, so if you were putting children up there, they're not going to roll out during the night. So underneath the drop down bed, if the bed was to ever fail, where you've got no power from the leisure battery and you've flattened your leisure battery, to override you use an Allen key, and where you need to put the Allen key is underneath this cover. So this is on magnet, so you just need to get a strong hold of it and pull it down. And then you put your Allen key in there on the end of the spindle of the motor, and you'll be able to wind the bed up manually. So that's the override for the Swift drop down beds. So to assemble the bottom bed, lift the base cushions up, drop the table in. The switch for the table's just here. So drop the table in. There's also a slider on the table for an extension. So you slide the extension piece out first, which is a metal frame, which allows you to give a bit more support on this side of the tabletop. Pop that down into position. We'll pop the cushions on and we'll show you how to make the lounge into a double bed. Once you've put the table into position, slide this part out here, which is where your boiler's behind, and there's a leg. Drop that down, just because this base cushion here is a bit long, so it needs the added support. So you pop that down into there. Your backrests will then fold down into position. So push them back. Into this position there. Do the same with the other one. Pull all base cushions forward, and it means that you have a large bed, but it is a bit fiddly getting this cushion behind here, but you can do it. And there you have one large double bed. So on this model, in the cupboard behind, or beside the fridge should I say, just beside the habitation door, this is your Sergeant power supply unit. So if I show you here, you've got your system shutdown button at the bottom, which turns off all power from the leisure battery, so it will isolate it. It's like an isolating button. If you thought you had a power drain, you can turn this off. All your 12 volt fuses, which are listed here, what they do. So go on to eBay and Amazon and get yourself a pack of a variety of fuses and carry them within the vehicle. If a fuse does blow, it will come up where you see the green light here, it will come up red from 1 to number 10. Trips, so your MCBs. If you thought you weren't receiving power, the best way to check is trip the vehicle. If the vehicle trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, you're not receiving power. So you need to look where you're getting your power from, whether that be the house or the site. Make sure this pushed in charger allows the 230 volt charge hook up to charge the leisure battery in the heating and hot water. This is your 230 volt element side of the heating and hot water. Them two will just illuminate as soon as the vehicle's hooked up, and if it's not hooked up, they won't illuminate. But in the winter, to avoid the heating system from working, you can turn this off when storing it if you wish, but you don't really need to do so. Just make sure that you don't turn your hot water on when you don't have any water in your tanks.